So finally, after 6 months of testing, I'm pumped about this video. This is my full review on the Lowrance Ghost trolling motor. In this video, we'll talk about the on-the-water performance of the trolling motor, touch on some of the upgrades that we made to the motor. We've also got an exciting discount and deal that's available to viewers of this video. And lastly, we'll talk about the warranty on this unit because Lowrance have recently changed their stance, particularly here in Australia, with relation to salt water use. That's pretty exciting, and that has made this unit a real viable option for anyone considering a new trolling motor. So let's get into it. So the Lowrance Ghost is one of the latest generations of brushless motors that is being tested on this boat. And it's been a real joy to have it for a number of reasons that we'll talk about today. But we've had the motor in rivers, dams, some open lakes, and it's been really exposed to both good weather conditions and not so good weather conditions. We'll talk about all of that, and I'll also talk about some of the limitations that I saw with the motor. I guess the best place though to start is at the start. Now the unit was really easy to install, and I don't think you need to be overly technically minded to install one yourself. Mine was mail order from Hunter Watersports that arrived via courier, and the bolt patterns that I used to secure the motor to the boat were actually the same as the Motor Guide ones that I had previously. And that was a real positive for me because that meant that I didn't need to drill new holes into the boat and weaken that front area there. I think it was really smart for Lowrance to design a bolt pattern up the front that's compatible with the major brands. Now, if you do install the unit yourself, there are a couple of tips and tricks that I do recommend, and I did a video on that. Here's the install video up here, but truthfully, it is not hard to put one of these units on your boat. Once the unit was installed though, I took a step back, had a look at the unit on the boat, and I've got to say, it looked like a beast. It was really solid with the connections that it was made. It was really firm in its mounting, but it looks futuristic, the lines are clean, and the motor looks quite modern. That modernness, if you like, does flow through the other components as well, and you do see it in the pedal, which I have to say I absolutely love. And there's a bunch of functionality in the pedal itself that I'm yet to see in other products. At the top of the pedal, you've got a toe tap instant power button that can be flipped and reversed so that if you don't like it on the top left like I've got it, you can put it on the top right, whatever you like. On the side, you've got your power button for speed, and you've also got another 4 buttons. The first is the spotlight that's indicated by the anchor, and the other 3 are completely programmable. Personally, I kept the button number 1 here as the propeller constant on, button 2 to create waypoints, and button 3 as the course lock that I'll talk about in a moment. Now, I really like that setup, but if I had power poles down the back of the boat, which I don't, I've got Raptors, but if they were power poles, I would have changed those bottom 2 numbers to power pole up and power pole down. That would have given me pseudo stomp switches on the pedals, which I think it'd be pretty silly not to use. Now the unit itself and the pedal is all fly-by-wire, meaning no cables between the pedal and the steering head or the motor head. I really liked it because when I parked the pedal in a specific position, I knew that the motor wasn't going to move. Whenever I deployed or redeployed the Ghost motor as well, the motor head would automatically park itself in that horizontal position, and it always seemed to sit really nicely on the bow. I didn't have any problems with that. That was nice because it meant no coordination between trying to get the pedal in the right position whenever I was pulling the motor up and parking it or stowing it in the position that it's in here. In my opinion, the pedal's really nice and smooth to use. I didn't really get any grinding as I was manipulating the pedal, and I really rate the thing. From a sound perspective, I'll show you some examples here, but the motor head that is turning the propeller is brushless and makes a minimum amount of sound. It does make some sound, but geez, it's quiet. And when I say quiet, I mean super quiet. Where I did hear a little bit of noise on a regular basis was up here at the steering head or the steering motor for it. And what you'll hear is the servos move around as it directs the motor down underwater. One of the guys told me that it sounded a little bit like RTD2, and I kind of reckon that's probably about right. Certainly not loud by any means, but at a level whereby if you're going about your day fishing, you will hear it move around, particularly when you've got it on spot lock and that motor head's going automatically to maintain your position. So from a pure trolling motor perspective, without it being integrated into the electronics or have any of the Gucci stuff going on, I really rated the trolling motor. Under the foot, it felt really nice and smooth. It was quiet, it was modern, and it's really quite secure. The mounting bracket on the front is also designed to be stood on when you have it deployed. What I will say though is that as soon as you get this unit integrated into the electronics suite of the boat, the unit really does become outstanding. Now, before we go on and get into that, I will throw a big shout out to Hunter Watersports for getting behind the project and helping with a lot of the questions and stuff that I had. Now, I did pay for the units myself, and when I told HWS I was going to do the video, they asked if they could do an offer and offer you guys a deal, and that's exactly what they've done. If you enter this code down the bottom, you're going to get a serious discount. That discount's going to be applicable to Lowrance Ghost trolling motors, and I'm always keen to get you guys to save a little bit of money on some of the products that we do, so big shout out to HWS for offering that. So in terms of compatibility, there's two main areas where this unit really influences the suite that you've got on the boat. The first is in the down underwater imaging that you get. It comes with a HDI transducer nose cone. Now that'll give you chirp and down scan, some of those traditional down imaging kind of shots, but it doesn't give you any side imaging and doesn't shoot a beam sideways. If you want that, you're going to need to buy the upgrade kit, which is the active imaging 3-in-1 transducer nose cone, and that screws onto the front. So we tested the motor with both, and I have to say, after using the HDI nose cone, the one that shoots down, for around about 10 outings, which was, a couple of months, I came to the conclusion that that HDI transducer was a waste of time for the fishing that I was doing. The only shots that I was seeing sideways up the front on the HDS Live 12 was the transducer that I had 18 foot down the back, shooting sideways down the back. No arguments here on this performance. The image it gave me shooting down underneath the boat was really quite nice. I just felt that the way that I'd fished in structure, it just didn't give me much. I wanted to know what was going on ahead of me and to the side. So with that in mind, I threw the active imaging 3-in-1 transducer on the front and was automatically happy. Immediately, I was much happier with the performance of the trolling motor. And I would have to recommend that. The ability for you to see sideways from the front and actually what's going on relative to you at the front of the boat was invaluable. It was an easy sell for the few $100 odd extra dollars that I needed to spend to put the nose cone on. I will say when you're installing it though, hot tip, don't over torque the nose cone. I did this, I over nipped it by hand just a little bit too much, and I actually had to send the unit back to Lowrance because I'd over tightened it and I couldn't get it off at all. And as I continually used that 3-in-1 transducer, I kind of thought to myself, what applicability would there be for a HDI downscan only transducer on the front? Why not just put that 3-in-1 in there as standard? It costs a little bit more, I get that. But if you can think of a reason, I'd really like to hear about it in the comments below. So the second way the Lowrance Ghost integrates with the suite really well is in the navigation space. As soon as these two units started talking to each other, the interoperability that I got on that HDS 12 was awesome. With a click of the button, I could drop a position by hand or touch a spot on my map and tell the Ghost to just go there. From that interoperability as well, from the menu that pops up, I can select the speed I want to go at in, say, kilometers or miles per hour, or I could set it to a propeller speed, one of the two. It gave me both options there, and that was awesome. That go-to functionality wasn't limited to points that you dropped on the screen as well. You could select waypoints, you could select a course, and the boat would then automatically go to where it needed to. It'd account for the wind, it'd account for the current, and it would just be on its way. The great thing about it as well, I've got an Elite FS9 at the console of the boat that I'm about to change to a HDS 9 admittedly, but on that Elite 9, I could sit down at my console and control the boat from there, control the electric motor from there. It meant that when I had family members or friends on the boat and they were fishing and I was just having a break and sitting down there watching to make sure that everything was safe. I didn't have to run up to the front, to the foot pedal up here to control the trolling motor. I could do everything from the console, and that was pretty cool also. Overall, to wrap up this topic here about how the Ghost trolling motor integrates with the boat, could I fault it? No, they did a really good job here. So stick with me here, I've got two more major points. The first one is the power that the Lowrance unit takes. It takes both 24 volt circuits and 36 volt circuits. Having run it on both of those circuits now, I didn't find much of a difference in terms of the unit's performance. Sure, at 36 volts it produces 120 pounds of thrust, and at 24 volts it produces 97 pounds of thrust. Truthfully, at no point when I was running 24 was I running this thing on max, sitting here going, I wish I had that extra 23 pounds of thrust. Maybe if you've got a larger boat, but on this 18.5 foot boat, wasn't a problem. The only main difference I found was in that power setting knob. Sometimes it might be setting 2 at 24, and then at 36 volts, it might have been setting 3 or something like that. No big deal at all. There is, however, one main benefit in running the 36 volt system. If you're running 3 12 volt batteries, if one dies on you on the water, you can simply take that battery out of the circuit, select a different setting on the unit, and then run 24 volts. And I think that's a really nice insurance policy to know that if a battery dies down the back, your weekend isn't completely ruined. There is a battery level indicator on the unit, but for me, it really added nothing to the boat because it constantly read max. And that's because I'm running FPV power lithium iron phosphate batteries on my boat. They don't have that traditional voltage drop that lead acid batteries do as they deplete, so the indicator always read max for me. You'll find the indicator useful if you are running lead acid batteries on your boat. So the last point we'll talk about before we wrap all of this up is the salt water warranty. And when I initially purchased this product, it was the biggest concern that I had about this because the warranty read that this unit was for freshwater use only, and as soon as it touched anything salt water, you voided your warranty completely. I can say, however, as of August 2021, and as this video goes live, Navico have changed the rules around this. They sent me this bulletin that confirmed the changes, but it basically says that if you purchase a sacrificial prop shaft and install it part, then the motor will be allowed to be used in brackish water without voiding the 3-year warranty. Now, immediately under that, it does say, however, that use in salt water will void the warranty. Now, if you found that a little bit confusing like I did, trying to work out what was defined as brackish water or salt water, here is the email that I went back and forth to with Navico about. They were happy to be quoted on it, but Navico Australia basically expanded on that for Australian use and said, as long as they stay within the estuary, well, the warranty is good to go, just not ocean use. And I think that's awesome for Aussie anglers because the majority of our fishing that we do is in estuaries. So from a reviewer's perspective, for me, this has turned this unit into a really viable option for anglers in the Australian market. Do I think though there would be more of these Lowrance Ghosts on vessels if they had come out with this initially when they initially launched the product? Hell yeah, I do. And with that being said, preventative maintenance is something that you're going to need to consider as you use this. Places to look out for are the bearing around the prop shaft. I got word early that this was somewhere to look for, and you can see I packed it with some marine grease. I haven't had any problems with corrosion or pitting in that, so the grease at the front of the bearing there, just to protect the face from a bit of saltwater intrusion, is a good idea. As I wrap this up, remember the HWS discount if you are in the market for one of these. If you enjoy the video, you know the buttons to push. Stay safe. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you next time.